Welcome to the C24 workflow coursework. Now, what is a C24? The C24 is nonetheless of a control surface. A control surface is not an actual board. That means that we don't actually have audio signal passing through it. We only have a control surface that is a sort of like extension of whatever we could do within Pro Tools, and instead of mousing around, we can have a direct access to every single function in Pro Tools, but utilizing an actual digital control surface. The C24 is divided in 9 different modules. The first module is the recording module. Then right below you have the automation module, the processor module, the soft key module, the LED display, the channel module, the Modifier Keys module, a monitor module, and a master module. Within the recording module, which can be found up here, you have the ability to select 16 discrete channels. The C24 is the only board that actually has built-in preamplifiers. Now you have 16 Focusrite Red preamplifier, which have phenomenal converter. They are extremely linear, so they don't add nor subtract anything to the signal. Within the 16 preamplifiers, you have right underneath each one of those knobs a switch, which allows you to select the source. So now by default, all of them are in microphone, meaning they're waiting to receive a mic input. By toggling them, you can switch to line, and they also offer you the ability to insert within the actual signal path a high-pass filter at 100 Hz. And this works for all the tracks. Now, along with that, you have a third or fourth LED over here, which is simply a warning signal just in case you are inputting the board with a signal that is too hot. So it's a clip indicator. By default, before or prior to your recording, make sure that all the preamplifiers are at 0. Then once you find the optimum level, you can start recording. And once you're done, make sure to turn all the knobs back at 0. Along with the recording module, there is an extra part over here, which has to do with engaging the 48 phantom power. Now the 48 phantom power is divided in 2 sections. So it goes from channel 1 to 8 and from channel 9 to channel 16. The only thing you have to do is engage the 48 phantom power on the group of tracks that you know for a fact will have a condenser microphone connected to it. Lastly, you have 2 different types of meter selection. So you have a meter that could be in pre or post. By default, those are pre-fader metering, and I recommend you to leave it as such. And then you have a clip indicator, or actually clear clip. This has to do primarily when you clip a track inside Pro Tools. It's a sort of like do to all option C clear clip. Right underneath the recording module, you have the automation module. Now the automation module has separate automation controls. That means that you can select one type of automation per track, unless they're not grouped together. So as you can see right now, I'm in write mode, attach mode, latch, attach latch mode, and Pro Tools is changing accordingly, and then read. Now, as I told you before, the automation mode is a little bit fragmented. Over here you have single control over a single track, but over here you have your master control. Now over here you have your automation mode display. So right now it's telling me that the board it's in read mode. Now by using the modifier keys, let's say option, also known as do to all, I could change the entire board state. So I can press option, let's say write, and as you can see my entire board right now, it's in write mode. Option latch, everything is in latch. From latch I could create a attach latch trim, and now my entire board has switched to latch trim. And I can revert to, of course, read. Lastly, up here, you have the automation types. Now, the automation types could be accessed by pressing Command 4 on your keyboard, and it will bring up the type of automation you will actually enable. Now, among them, you can choose to enable or disable the volume, sense volume, pan, sense pan, mute, sense mute, plugin, and last but not least, I'm going to engage everything back again. You can suspend all the automations. Down here, again, on top of the automation modes, you have the automation write to, which refers to this portion of the automation window. So pretty much you could write to all, you could write to a specific selection, to a specific punch-in, or to the next breakpoint. I'm going to press Command 4 to close this window. Right underneath your automation, you have your processor module. Now, as you can see, the processor module comprises 4 different buttons per track. It doesn't matter, which track, I will explain. Once you learn how one track works, you can multiply times 24. Anyhow, so over here, you have an EQ and a dynamic buttons. So when they're not light up, that means that there is nothing there. When EQ and or dynamics are lighted up, one in green and one in yellow, that means that there is an actual equalizer or actually gain processor on that specific track. So by clicking on EQ, it tells me what type of EQ I have by populating my Pro Tools screen with the first insert equalizer that I have on that track. And as you can see, all the parameters are displayed within my LED. So right now I could grab the high pass filter, or actually the high filter gain, raise it or lower. Okay. Now by double typing on the EQ, if there is a second EQ right next to it, this will bring up a second set of EQ. By pressing DYN, which stands for dynamics, right now I can bring up my compressor, and I can do the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, all my parameters are displayed on the LED meter. So let's say I want to grab my knee and making this compressor working a little bit with a softer knee. There I have it. Now there is another and quicker way to access the functions of whatever appears on your rotary encoders over here, and that has to do with the master section. So over here, if you see, there is a button called flip. By flipping the control surface, right now I will bring all my volume faders from here to my rotary encoders or to my pan pots, and whatever belongs to the pan pots moves down to the actual fader. So as you can see here, my knee was here. So now by touching this fader, I have full control over my knee. I will flip the console back and get out of this. Now by pressing insert, right now Pro Tools displays all the 10 inserts you have available. And as you can see over here, I could scroll among my inserts and I get until insert J. So it tells me pretty much, if I would move into my mix window, as you can see over here, I'm working on this DI bass track. So on the first insert, I have no inserts. On the second insert, I have a Sense Amp. Again, I click on Sense Amp, the plugin shows up in Pro Tools, and right now all the parameters of my Sense Amp are displayed and fully accessible from my rotary encoder. Again, this is the track I was working on. As a matter of fact, my insert is flashing, warning me that, hey, this is the track you were working on before. I can click insert again, and maybe I want to access my compressor. I can tweak my compressor. Once I'm done, I click insert once, insert twice. I'm back to my default mode. And then from the actual window controls, I could press plugin, and this will close my plugin window. Right next to the insert, we also have the ability to select our sends. So as you can see here, there is no sends assigned, but the board is actually displaying all our 10 send slots. So we can go from sends A to send J. Now a cool thing I could do could be to assign a send. So to assign a send, I simply have to go on where it says no sends assigned. And then you could choose whether you want output or a bus. So you could use the rotary encoder. I want a bus. And now it's just a matter of selecting which send I want. So as you can see right now, I'm just turning this potentiometer, which gets a little bit annoying. I could do the exact same thing and flip the actual encoder and bring this to my fader. So right now it's just much easier to scroll around the tracks. And let's say I want to send this to, let's see what I got. Well, not for my bass, but let's say I want to send this to a long delay for some whatever and crazy reason. I could click it. Now my actual send got displayed into my Pro Tools window. And now I can easily decide what I want to do with the send. So I can mute it. I can create a pre or post fader send, and so forth. So right now, I will get out of this mode. I will flip the console back. I will actually click sends once again. And I will do input and actually remove the send from over there. Great. Now, right underneath our processor module, we got our LED display. Now, by default, this display shows all the tracks that you have within Pro Tools. As a matter of fact, right now within the edit window, the tracks are labeled from top to bottom. But if you move Command equal or actually use the toggle window functions here in the master section, edit and mix. Right now I'm in the mix window, and as you can see right now I have 24 tracks, and they go from the kick drum through my actually V-bass, which is my VCA for my bass guitar. Now this is great because right now I could access and I could view all my tracks displayed over here. Now a cool thing is that through this LED you can decide to view few things. First and foremost, by clicking display mode, you could view the level at which your fader is. By clicking it again, you can view where your pan is. So right now some of my tracks are 100% left, 42, 72, so on and so forth. Another great thing about the soft keys is that you have access to all your sends. In other words, over here you have a row that goes from A to E and F to J. Now by clicking simply on the A/F, right now I have access to all the first sends that populated my first send insert. And by nudging or banking through my session, I could always have the first insert. So right now I'm working on my lead vocals, and the first sends I have, it's a plate. If I want to go on send B, the only thing you have to do is pressing send B, and there you have it. Now you have your whole. Now again, a great thing you could do with this could be to flip the board, and right now the volumes are actually down here. Another great thing you could do could be controlling the sends level from your faders. So right now I don't even need to open or making my sends level bigger because I can control everything from here. Now my main send, which is a whole, it's at 0, as you can see over here, and I can move my sends freely. I will option touch my fader to bring this back at 0. Now another great thing is that I could easily mute my sends and unmute my sends. Through the soft keys over here, I could also change by switch function what I want my sends to do. So right now everything is defaulted to mute, but if I want, I can toggle these two buttons to be pre and post fader. So by clicking them right now, I made my sends pre fader. Clicking it again, now they're post fader. I will go back to sends mute and make my Pro Tools window smaller. Now to access the row that goes from F to J, since right now you only have A, B, C, D, E, you can press this F to J toggle, and now the first 5 buttons over here will become a different row. So F, G, H, I, J. if you're done working with your sends, what I recommend you to do would be to unclick it. And so right now you're back to your default mode. Another great and very useful function is actually this soft keys over here. So right now, those are related to your pan, which primarily when working with music, you don't work with a surround array. That means you're going to be working only with left and right and sometimes the center track. This soft keys over here allows you to access advanced automation modes, which again can be recalled by the automation window by clicking Command 4. And right now you have access to preview, punch preview, suspend preview, capture, punch capture, and join automation, and a different other set of advanced feature only available in Pro Tools HD. So this is a very handy menu. Lastly, we got our channel modules. Now over here we got 24 channels, starting from channel 1 to 24. Now the great thing of working with a control surface is that by using my nudge, I could have up to 200, 500 tracks, and the board will keep nudging 24 tracks at a time. Now you could decide to nudge 24 tracks at a time, or perhaps maybe you're doing an automation on your lead vocal VCA and you want the fader actually to be right at the center. By clicking on nudge over here, you can move everything one fader at the time. So as you can see over here, I'm back to my lead vocals and as right centered. Command 4 to remove the automation window. So again, with the nudge engaged, you can move one track at a time. With the nudge disengaged, you're banking the control surface of 24 tracks each time. Now within the channel section or module, you'll have a few different options. The first option are the input or record enable. So right now I was mixing this session, so the only track we could actually input and record enable is our print master. So right now I could nudge until I find my print master, which is over here. I will bring this track right here in the center. There we go. So right now my print master, if you look inside Pro Tools up here, I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. Oops. I could remove the input monitoring. I can set the track ready to be recorded. And again, I can toggle input monitoring and recording mode on. Something very handy when you have a especially big session. Right down below, you have 3 buttons, which corresponds to select track. And as you can see, every time I click on select, I will select a single track. And this works along with another module, which is our 7th module, which are our modifier keys. Our modifier keys let us access different function every time we trigger a specific parameters in Pro Tools. So our 4 modifier keys are Shift, Option, Control, and Command. By holding down Command, you could select non-adjacent tracks. By holding down Option and click on whatever selected track, you can deselect everything or select everything. And again, you have the possibilities on apply controls to only selected tracks by holding down Shift Option. Right underneath the select button, you have a solo and a mute, which are pretty much self-explanatory. Right underneath, we have our faders. Now the faders are actually the coolest thing of a control surface, as they are touch sensitive fader. So right now I'm going to use the soft keys and put the board in latch, so there's no risk of me destroying the mix. But right now a good thing of a board is that, again, having the ability of having touch sensitive faders, I could write any automation and the board knows exactly what I'm touching when I'm touching it. So I could always go ahead and grab a specific fader. Let me check if I'm in preview. Yes, I am. So I could go and grab a specific fader and do any type of level of automation. And as you can see here in Pro Tools, I've already written extensively automation on my lead vocals. All right. So I will remove preview, go back into read, and there I have it. On the top right corner of the C24, you have your master module. Now, the first part of this master module refers to your monitor. Now, if you're using an external monitor controller, as I am in my studio here, or if you're using the C24 as a actually master module mixer, right now you can toggle between two different sets of speakers. You can mute them, you can dim them, you can mono up, you can sum everything, and you have also control over the cue and the headphones of the artist, plus the talkback. Now the talkback could be accessed by this button over here, which is your talkback. So every time you hold the talkback, you will send a feed to the headphones of the musician or the artist. If you don't want to toggle back and on the talkback, you can double click on the talkback, and the talkback right now it's on. So be very aware of what you're saying about the artist when this button is on. Within the actual master module, you have the ability to change the edit modes. As a matter of fact, you could use the F1 through F4 function to select shuffle, spot, slip, and grid. Over here, you have a couple of view options between the home, mic pre, and focus, and you could also use the copy and paste. I generally don't use this as they're a little bit outreach from myself. I'd rather use my keyboard. Now down here you have a tool and function bar. Now the tool and function works in a way that you could use the first white row over here to select your edit tools. Edit tools are generally selectable between F5 through F9 and F10. And over here, you could do the exact same thing. So you have the trimmer, the selector, the grabber, pencil, and the smart tool at the end. I'm gonna move back to my selector tool. Now, as you can see over here, though, we have a set of different and alternative options that we could use. So by pressing this button over here, right now, everything that is written below the actual button is what you're gonna be using. So you can toggle the click on and off. You can wait for notes. You can select the count off. So pretty much with this, you can have access to all the MIDI functions of your transport. Plus you have the ability to toggle on the zoom toggle, tab to transient, or length time and edit selection. Right next to it, you have your groups, and you have the ability to create a new group over here. And create a new group is pretty easy. Generally, you would Command G on your keyboard and create a new group. But by pressing create, as you can see here now, my LED screen got populated with a set of letters or ID letters for the group. So the only thing you have to do is to decide which letter you want and create a group. Another thing you could do is go on your groups, and by clicking on enable, you can decide which group you want enable or disable. So right now, all the groups that I have created are up here on my LED. I could disable my lead vocals. I could disable my VCA for my background vocals. And there I have it. I can re-enable them. And then I can back to mix. I could modify, delete, or actually do a global suspend groups. So right now, as you can see in Pro Tools, all my groups have been suspended. Right next to it, we have a global control. And so over here, we have a sort of like do to all or do to selected, something that you can access with your modifier keys, do to all, holding on option, do to selected, shift option. You also have a solo clear. Let's say I have, right now I'm holding down control, or actually command, and soloing up, actually shift and solo up a couple of tracks. Now, instead of unsoloing everything, I could go here, solo clear, and all my tracks have been soloed. Or actually, the solo of all my tracks has been cleared. Right down here, you have your transport modes. And as you can see, we could activate different functions that are available on Command 1 on the numeric keypad on your transport. I'm going to maximize my transports and say I want my counter, MIDI control, and output meter. So this is pretty much what it controls. Right down here, you have your zoom presets. which can be found in Pro Tools on the upper left corner. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which could be accessed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the alphanumeric keypad. I will actually deselect this and resize my track to fit the window. You have the ability to navigate your session, and you could navigate by the top and bottom row, which is the same thing that P and semicolon do on your keyboard. And as well, you could actually navigate across your whole session. So over here, I can move into my mix window, and as you can see, I can jump between different parts. Now, another cool thing you could do is using the actual wheel over here to navigate your session. And by holding down Option, I could move left to right. By holding down Shift, I could move top to bottom. By holding down Shift Control, you can zoom in and zoom out. Now you could also do another thing and select precise commands for the mod wheel. So right now we could go to, let's say, scrub, and I can move it. I could shuffle this, and I can as well trim clips. So with this actual option, I could, with this actual mod wheel, I could activate different other functions. So lastly, we have our transport control with our play. I could stop, rewind, fast forward, and again, I could, if I want, now engage a recording. Now, the last few buttons that are very useful are in this master section over here. So I already told you that by pressing flip, you would bring everything that you have on your encoders up here down to your faders. So right now, those faders have become my pans, and my pan pot or rotary encoder have become my fader. And everything that is actually in the encoder and in the display, by pressing flip, could flip down to the actual faders. And then another extremely cool feature is the actual master. So by pressing the master fader, you will have access only to the master fader of your session in case you need to rescale the overall dynamic range. But what is even cooler is that if you have VCA faders, by tapping a second time on master, right now you have access to all your VCA faders. So right now what I could do is, let's say I want to solo up only the bass. Only guitars and drums. This is an extremely fast way to access all your VCA tracks, which, as you can see over here, they are down below my entire session. So instead of scrolling around, I could easily recall them. Now, the cool thing about this board is that you have also access to precise memory locations. So down here within the overall control, I could click on memlock, and this will bring up my memory location window. But if I use a combination of modifier keys, Control Command, memlock, now all my memory location have been displayed on my actual LED. So I can close my memory location window, and I can easily jump across each single section of my song by pressing the corresponding soft keys. So I could go into my intro. I could go to my third pre-chorus. I can go to the second verse. What's even cooler is that over here you have the ability to also recall your window configurations. Now, window configurations are something that I generally set up within my mix template and let me recall different views of whatever I'm viewing within my windows. Now the extremely cool thing is that right now, instead of opening my window configuration or recall it through a shortcut, I could easily press Control, again Command, Window Configuration, and now my window configuration have been displayed on my LED. So I can close this, Option Command J, and go on my split view. I might want to view only my edit window. What I could do here is even cooler. I could go on my only sends window configurations, and right now you see I am on my lead vocals and I don't see anything else in my edit window. Actually, let's go only sends A through E as I've stored it. So right now I could go on my soft keys, press sends A. My sends A is over here. I will actually move to my lead vocals. All right, and here it is. I could flip, and right now my plate is down here. I could decide to do anything I want. I could raise the volume or lower the volume. I could mute it, and I could even decide to put the plate in pre-fader. I could go to my send B, and there is my hole. I can mute it and not mute it. I could go on my send C, and so forth until my long delay. Once I'm done tweaking, automating my delay, I can snap out of this function and flip it back. Could go back to my edit window, or maybe to my edit window modified. Now I have access to all my plugins from my edit window. Another cool thing I could do is move back to my edit window, but I could recall precise memory locations. So memory location generally are recalled with the decimal point and the number of the memory location. So let's say I want to go to my third pre-chorus, I would assume that's the number 3. So decimal point 3, decimal point, and there I am. Okay, so I will remove my window configuration, Control Command. And now if I will reopen my memory location, Control Command memory location, right now over here there are all the actual screenshot that I have saved within my memory location. So I could have access to all my tracks, but maybe I want to do some editing on only the drums. There they are. So this is only my drums. I want to hear the vocals. I can go on my memory location that I stored with vocals.
You just would like to close your eyes again, and even if you're trying to hide that mood, you
could mute my vocals. I can go on my guitars. There I have it. I could display automation line, fix whatever I need to fix. I can even bring my guitars here in the center so I can click them. I can mute. I can do whatever I want. After I'm done, I can recall my all memory locations. Snap out of my memory location. Option minus to go back to my default mode. And this is pretty much very broad basic on how the C24 works. This is an extremely useful board, and again, the more you will practice with it, the better you will understand how to process everything. Now I'm gonna leave you with a little gift, and this is how to insert a plugin. Now let's say I want to insert a plugin on, where do I have it? Let's pretend I want to insert a plugin on my actual lead vocal master. We'll move back into my edit window. So right now by pressing insert, Pro Tools is displaying whatever insert I have inserted in my first slot A. Let's say I want to insert something else on my slot B. I could follow where actually the actual no insert assignments is, and just pressing the soft key. So under the insert B, I could press no insert. It will tell me what type of insert you want. You want a plugin, you want input and output, you want different plugins. So right now I want a plugin. What type of plugin I want. Now I could flip the board and I could scroll across all my plugin list. You could do the exact same thing by using the rotary encoder. So let's say right now I want an equalizer. Okay. what type of EQ you want. So I have plenty of equalizers, so I'm going to flip this to my fader, and then through this you can scroll around all your EQs. Let's say I want to work with a basic EQ, so let's go again with the default one, just because for this purpose demonstration is just easier. All right, there it is. I could flip this back, and once you select your EQ, the EQ will show up within your Pro Tools window, and double click, and now all your parameters are accessible from your EQ. So as you can see, you start with low frequency, you move to the low mid frequencies where you have your Q parameter, you have your gain, you have your frequency toggle. And again, I could flip everything to my board, and the same thing applies with my faders, as you can see. You have access to, again, if you want to reset everything, option, and click on the actual parameter in order for you to reset everything. If you want, you could toggle, since a lot of this plugins has a lot of window, on the channel bar scroll, and over here I could change a different frequency or dB per octave on my high pass filter. I can engage it. I could move the frequency around. I could change again the frequency, and I can also change the type of filter. So if it's a high pass filter or if it's actually notch filter. Once I'm done tweaking my EQ, I could click on insert once again, actually insert program, insert, and you're back to your mixing mode. Now by pressing plugin, you can keep mixing, plugin again, and we'll reopen the last plugin that you have opened. So it's just a matter again of practice with this board. It's fairly easy. You just have to develop a sort of like muscle memory to realize where everything is and everything goes. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this explanation. Ciao.